Welcome back to It's Mobile. Today I'm going to be installing the Eibach lowering springs for the Toyota GR86 or SUBARU BRZ. First, we're going to open up our hood. Then we're going to jack up the car, put it on jack stands, and take off the wheels. Once we take off the wheels, we're going to take off the two clips on our struts, unbolt the 17mm that's holding in the tie rod. Then we're going to be taking out our 19mm bolts that's holding the knuckle to the strut. After struggling through that, I'm going to take off the 12mm bolt that's holding in the brake line. Then we're free to go. Now we're going to take the three 13mm bolts on our strut tower and pull it out. Here I'm using the spring compressors to compress the spring so that when I take off the top hat, it doesn't come flying out on me. Be careful using it. On the top of the strut, we got a 17mm bolt that we need to take off. Once you've disassembled it, make sure to trim down your bump stops and reinstall it. Compress your new springs and put it on the strut. Make sure you don't forget your dust boot, and then we can put everything back together. Now it's ready to go back in. I started by hand tightening the 3 bolts up top to get everything back in place, and then I put in my 2 bolts. After tightening the bolts, I figured that I routed the brake sensor incorrectly, so there's a 10mm bolt that's holding it on the back. Took it off, routed it correctly, and then we're good to go. Put our clips back in. Then I jacked up the entire assembly so that I can put in the end link. Tighten up the 3 bolts up top, and then I'm ready to rinse and repeat on the other side. But before doing that, spring season is upon us and we gotta get rid of these winter tires. So I decided to upgrade my wheels. I got these lightweight NK TD5s wrapped in the Michelin Pilot Sport 4 summer tires. Now it's time to take out the safety wheel that I put under the car and pull the car down. Look how much better these look. As you can see, the cap's still there, but once the car's settled, it's gonna go away. After struggling with the second side, now we're on to the back. Now we've got a couple options to take the rear struts out. There's 4 bolts holding in the lower control arm. I decided to take the front 2, being the knuckle and the strut. They're 17mm bolts, fairly easy to take out. Now that we've got the 2 bolts out, we're gonna go into the trunk, take out the 3 clips holding in the trunk liner. You'll find 2 in the back, 1 in the front. Once you've got them out, you'll find 2 14mm bolts holding in your strut. Once you've taken them off, you can wiggle your strut out. In the back, you don't really need the spring compressor. Just be careful taking off the top 14mm bolt. Once you've disassembled it, you can cut down your pump stop, reinstall everything back together. Putting the nut back, I had the strut spinning on me, so you can use a short 14mm with an Allen key in the middle to stop it from spinning. Now is the struggle of putting it back in. You've got to push down your lower control arm so that you can fit the strut back in place. But once you do that, you can put back in your bolts and you're good to go. At that point, I still had the 4th corner to finish. And a word of advice, make sure you start this early. You don't want to be like me, working on your car until 8 p.m. with no outdoor lights. As a tribute to my struggle, I figured I'd put in this quick time lapse for you guys to enjoy. If you waited until the end, here's how it looks after it's settled.